Welcome to the Laws of Life podcast. I'm your host, Blanca, and today we'll be sharing a story from striving for success to reaching the top with our entrepreneur, Joseph Dela Rosa. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me today. It's really a privilege to be here on the show with you today. I'm super excited.
I love your story, and there's so much to talk about. There's so much to learn from you. But I guess the first question is, how do you see yourself? Do you see yourself as being in construction, being a real estate investor, wearing so many hats? How do you introduce yourself to the world?
Well, that's a great question. I introduced myself to the world as a contractor to start off with. I've been in the construction business for around 21 years, and that's my backbone. My backbone's construction. I started as a plumbing contractor, and then I merged into air conditioning and then also solar energy. So I hold 3 licenses for the state of Florida. And that right there is the backbone of who I am. It's construction and development. And eventually I merged myself into the real estate sector because construction and real estate, they kind of act, hand to hand for the most part. If something's broken in the house, I can fix it basically, and that's pretty much the startup of how it began actually.
Where did you grow up?
Fort Lauderdale. I'm a South Florida native, born and raised, one of the few, still here.
I love that. So were your parents entrepreneurs like you, or what did they do?
Yeah, my dad was a painting contractor. He was a painter. My mom was a stay-at-home wife, a good old traditional family. The wife stays home, watches the kids. The father goes, makes the money, brings it home. And my dad was a painting contractor for 35 years, painter. And eventually he said to me, son, do you want to be a painter? And I said to him, Dad, I'll give it a shot. And in 6 months, I said, this is not for me, Dad. Painting is a very easy profession, I would say. There's only 3 things of painting. There's cutting with the brush, there's rolling with the roller, and spraying. So in 6 months, you're professional. And the problem with being a painter is that the less effort that it takes to do the project, the easier it is to find folks, and the lower the payments or the lower the hourly rates for the employees, if that makes any sense. So there wasn't really too much skill about that. So my dad says to me one day, so you want to be a plumber, son? He saw an ad in the paper in the Sun Sentinel. Does the Sun Sentinel still exist?
Yes.
It does, it, right?
I believe.
The Miami Herald, the Sun Sentinel. Those are back in the 2000s, 1990s, 2000s, the Heralds and the Sun Sentinels and stuff. And he saw an ad in the paper for helpers wanted, $8 an hour. I'm like, yeah, let me give it a shot. I gave it a shot, as working for a plumbing company. And after 6 months, not only was I making $8 an hour, Uncle Sam takes probably $2 of that. So let's say I'm making $6 an hour. And a lot of folks back home are like, well, I would never work for $6 an hour. You guys start somewhere, right? Digging trenches, moving fittings, coming home with like a $200 paycheck every week. And I said, Mom, Dad, plumbing is there's no money in plumbing. One thing my father told me in the plumbing industry is, that stuck into my head 20 years later, son, don't worry about the money, it will come. It will come. As a plumber. And a lot of folks in the beginning years, they said to me, plumbing, what's plumbing? You clean toilets, you deal with not so nice stuff, And I said, well, this is a job and somebody's got to do it, right? And little by little, I worked my way up from there, from the plumbing business.
It sounds like your father was one of your biggest influences in your life.
Yeah. My father, he was a big influence of mine. Very strong man. Always lived below his means. My mother and father lived way below their means. I think my dad's most expensive vehicle was like a $30,000 Chevy Impala or a Chevy. $30,000, the most expensive vehicle that I've ever seen him have. And it's not like today's case. Everybody wants to live above their means. Everybody wants to keep up with the Joneses. Everybody wants to max out all their credit cards to look like they're somebody that they're not, if that makes any sense.
Of course.
And I got a lot of influence from my parents on how to stabilize and create generational wealth living way below your means, if that makes any sense. So that's where I got from my father, that's where I got it from, yes.
And obviously he had a lot of hustle.
Oh yeah, my dad, he worked 16-hour days as a painter. My dad used to go home with paint all over the face, just paint all over and stuff like that. And And I said to my mom and dad, must be a tough life, But any traditional blue collar worker, you're gonna have to work hard, and that's what it is. Trying to get to the American dream.
Do you think that starting from scratch like you did with the painting and then the plumbing was a necessary piece to where you are right now?
Of course, of course. I basically started with nothing in my plumbing journey. I started with an $800 minivan and a bucket of hand tools, and I was doing invoices out of a bedroom out of my mom's house. That's how I started in the plumbing business. Started with nothing, and I started with not even one customer, not one client.
So you had to get your own customers when you transitioned to the plumbing business. So how did you get your first client?
It's funny you asked. Before I went to business for the plumbing business, I made a fake business card. Like I made a business card, because I wasn't licensed. I had to. When I was a second-year apprentice, the foreman or the higher ups, it said, "Listen, Joe, you got to fake it till you make it." And I've been using that rule the majority of my life. Fake it till you make it. And I got a little business card. I called the company True Logic Plumbing. It wasn't even a licensed company. It was just any name, just True Logic. I picked 2 colors, orange and white. I got a business card on vistaprint.com where you give you 100 free cards for free. And I started giving business cards to everybody in the grocery store. Hey, I like your shoes. I'm a plumber. Hey, I like your shirt. I'm a plumber. Hey, I like it. I'm a plumber. And I just kept throwing the nuggets out, the little nuggets. But where it really exploded for me in the plumbing business was I used the powerful tool of Google. I went on Google search engine, and I typed in Fortune 500 companies. I got a list of the best 500 companies, and I found out who the CEOs were, who the CFOs, the COOs, and I targeted them through email blasts and SMS text messages. And eventually I started landing them. I landed IHOP with the restaurant, I landed Darden Restaurants. That's Olive Garden, Smoky Bones, Red Lobster. I landed a bunch of malls, a couple hospitals. And then after that, I just exploded from, into plumbing.
That's really impressive. Like that's a lot of hustle to start from complete scratch.
Yeah.
To get corporate clients like that. And did you eventually get your plumbing license today?
So of course, yeah. So to get these commercial accounts, you have to have a plumbing license. They ask for a license and insurance, so it's and the higher you go with the clientele, the higher coverage that you need for insurance. So I started with like $1 million liability policy, and then when you start working in larger condos, larger developments, you need $2 million policy. So as you grow, yeah, you definitely need a license, yes.
Well, that's incredible. So how many years have you been in the plumbing business now?
Plumbing business is probably around 17, 18 years now in business.
That's a long time.
Yeah.
And are you still passing out those business cards even today?
No, I'm not passing out business cards no more. No.
No more?
No. My father, he told me one time. I'll give you an example from my father. Another thing that I got from my dad was he told me, if you don't want the job, you charge high. If that makes any sense. And one story that my father told me was, and there's a story behind this. My dad was a painting contractor, like I said. He got a customer that said to him, hey, listen, Alfredo, my dad's name was Alfredo, how much to paint the awnings for the shopping center? The number in his head was $24,000, but the words that came out of his mouth was $48,000. The customer says, when can you start? So he picked up an extra $20,000 by thinking a higher percentage or a higher rate, and he was awarded the project because my father didn't want to do the job. And bringing that back into the plumbing business, like I said earlier, the plumbing business is it's hard work. It's not it's a dirty business, a sweaty business. It's a very hard business. You come home aches and pains and stuff like that, and you get to a certain age in your life where you're forced to increase your hourly rate. You're forced to, because of the pain and the suffering and under the house and in the attic and the temperatures and the dirtiness, and it just organically you have to raise your prices. And another thing my father also told me was, you don't need 1,000 customers. You need maybe 10 or 15 good customers, a dozen customers. You know if that makes any sense? And early in business, I tried to make every single customer happy. I got 5 10 a.m.s, 5 12 p.m.s, and I could never make all the customers happy. I would put a toilet in for $100, and I would put the same toilet in for $500, $800 for the same work, the same task.
Right.
And so eventually in business, I started raising my prices, raising my numbers, an extra 20%, extra 30%, extra 50%. And I started weeding out the clients that really didn't know what they want or didn't have the budgets to support my line of work. And as the work improves, as the work increases, based on supply and demand, you'll always have a project, always have a job, if that makes any sense.
Yes. Yes.
And another thing too, going over that topic, you have to always find yourself a high-paying job. That is one of the key components in life. No matter where you are working in life, or wherever you are in life, you have to find yourself a high-paying job. That's the most critical aspect of working and progressing in life, is getting a high-paying job. You know, a lot of folks, they work this hourly rates and they're on the hamster wheel all day, and they wonder why they don't exceed, they don't accelerate. You know, after they pay taxes and the cost of living and the high inflation and the high interest credit cards, and forget about having babies and a family and kids and stuff like that. Forget about it. You're done. A lot of folks are doing 2, 3, 4 jobs, and is that really life? Is that really life, to work all day, every day? Don't travel, don't go out, you can't spend time with your family because you're stressed out about bills all day. That's not life. So increasing your hourly rate, increasing your net worth, and knowing exactly who you are, that's what's pretty much important, you know, in the economy today.
So knowing, I love that. So knowing everything that you know right now, after starting, you know, really from ground zero to where you are today, do you have a sense of what the right job is for people out there struggling, wondering what field they should go into to get their foundational feet wet?
Yeah. So the fact of the matter is, for that question was, you have to try a few things. You have to try a few things, and it stinks because when you're trying new things, you're starting from the bottom, you know, and nobody wants to start from the bottom, especially if you're at an older age, you know. Typically, you want to try to experiment with jobs and projects in theory between the ages of 20 to 30 years old, typically, organically, if that makes any sense. Once you get past 35, 40, 50 years old, you want to have some sort of stability, some sort of money set to the side to live the dream that you expect yourself to live, if that makes any sense. Trying 2 or 3 things and failing is not the issue. It's not trying at all, if it makes sense. You have to try. And one of the other critical things that I see that a lot of folks, they do not do these days, is actually invest in themselves. A lot of folks do not invest in themselves. They watch YouTube videos. They try to get all this free content from social media. They watch all these videos. They talk to people, but they don't invest in themselves. And going on that topic, in my life at least, I got my first mentor at 33 years old. I was 33 years old when I got my first mentor. And if I could turn back time, I would get my first mentor in my early 20s.
Wow.
2 years after I got my first mentor, I hit my first $1 million profit deal, or a year, $1 million profit. So when I was 35 years old, I hit north of $1 million in net profits. 2 years after I got my first mentor. May
we know the name of your mentor?
Well, I work with Grant Cardone. Grant Cardone's a big name. I work with Multifamily Mindset, Tyler from Multifamily Mindset. These guys have over 1,500 units, apartments, over 1,600 apartments. These guys are crushing it. And that's where I got most of my theory from. On top of that, going into rooms and paying for sponsorships, and it wasn't cheap. It wasn't cheap. As a man or a male in today's society, you're gonna pay with 2 things. You're gonna pay with time, or you're gonna pay with cash. Okay. Imagine you have a door, okay, and you want a shortcut for that door. Okay, you're making $50,000 a year salary plus or minus, right? But if you can pay $5,000 to walk through a door, okay, and do a meet and greet and talk to people and get the proper education and knowledge, and then you go from a $50,000 a year salary to a $500,000 a year salary, that's a massive jump. That's a massive jump. So a lot of folks these days, they're not investing in themselves, and they're scared, they're intimidated. Oh my goodness, I'm down to my last check. My bank accounts are in the negatives. All my credit cards are in the negatives right now. I'm covered in debt. I got student loans. My wife's breaking up with me. My dog ate my homework, whatever the case may be is. And they're not concentrating in what the vision is and where they wanna go in the next 4 to 5 years. And I also have another saying also, and the saying goes like this: if you do not know where you're going to be in the next 5 years, you're already there.
I like that.
You're
That's
already
powerful.
there. You're already
there.
there.
So let's back up. I want to ask you a few questions about this because it's amazing. So how did you know you needed a mentor?
Well,
how did you get the idea?
That's a great question. The reason why you need a mentor is honestly when you're breaking even every month. where you're not getting to that next level. If you see yourself in the same position that you were last year, last month, last week, you consistently see yourself, okay, I'm making 50K a year for the last 5 years. I'm making 100K a year for the last 10 years. And you just can't break that 200,000, 500,000. You just can't break that next level. That's when you need a mentor. That's when you need to look for a mentor, outsource a mentor, go on YouTube, type in search engines, the exact thing that you want to do. If it's e-commerce, if it's real estate, if it's medical, if it's tech, if it's stock, figure out who's doing what and find a way to get a hold of their management team or them themselves and say, listen, I need an hour of your time. How much is an hour of your time worth? Some guys might say it's 50K. Some guys might be like, it's 25K. If you do not have that money at that present time, there's hundreds of 0% credit cards where you can liquidate them, 12 to 18 months, liquidate 50,000, liquidate 100,000. If you don't know where those credit cards are, we can probably do a link below on where you can get those credit cards. I have a ton of cards that you can get at 0% interest, 12 to 18 months, 50K to 150K. And then another loophole that the wealthy people do also, since we're doing the podcast, is a lot of folks and a lot of my other financial mentors that I talk to, they take these 0% business credit cards. Let's just say, for an example, $50,000 of 0% business credit card. It could be an Ink Reward Chase card. It could be a Navy Federal card. It could be some of these credit unions that are giving 50, 20, 25, 50, 100K of 0% credit. What they're doing is that they're liquidating the cards, okay? Once you liquidate the card, the money goes into your checking account, interest-free for 12 to 18 months. They use it for mentors. They use it for real estate investments. They use it to scale their businesses or whatever portfolios that they're trying to scale. 1 or 2 months before the expiration date where you have to pay back the 0% money, they roll it over into a balance transfer into another business 0% credit card. They keep rolling it. That's what the wealthy people do. They roll funds into other 0% business credit cards, 0% interest. So you can go from a Navy Federal card to a Chase Ink Reward card to a Bank of America 321 card and just keep rolling it and never pay interest. Eventually, you should pay the interest back, but by the banks, when the banks see that you have 50K, like a Chase card,
right,
and you roll to a Bank of America, now you're at zero balance, okay? And for the next 30 to 60 days, your credit score goes up until the secondary bank reports that as a high interest debt on your primary credit score, if that makes any sense.
Okay.
So moving money from point A to point B at all times is key to actually scaling whatever operation that you want to do at all times.
So let's say someone gets this credit card.
Yeah.
They get the 50,000.
Mm-hmm.
Who would you recommend if they want to go into real estate investing?
Well, I offer a course, OPM Today, Real Estate Investing Made Simple course. The low ticket is $500. It's modules. It tells you exactly how to get into the market, get out of the market conditions, market cycles, logistics, demographics. It also has a deal calculator where you can get into it. It's only $500. It's a $12,000 course, but I brought the number down to $497. And then the mastermind course is $7K, but it offers around $50,000 to $60,000 worth of valuable, extremely valuable real estate knowledge in the course.
How much have you yourself spent on mentorship and education?
On my personal mentorship, just real estate alone, I've invested close to 170 to 175K. Just on real estate mentorship, real estate programs, real estate pop-up events, meet and greets, and basically shaking hands with the guys where I want to exchange places with.
And do you regret any dollars spent on your education?
Absolutely no. In high school, as a high school student, going back in time as a high school student, a lot of these kids are like, well, why do I need to know history? Why do I need to know algebra? One apple plus one banana equals a pear. How is that going to benefit me in my life? Why do we need to know about Christopher Columbus coming into America? How is this going to benefit us in any way, shape, or form? In high school, what they need to teach us is how to multiply our money, how to divide, how to multiply, how to conquer, how to balance checkbooks, how to move in and out of markets, and how to capitalize especially as a male. And I believe that I'm an old school kind of guy, and that the male needs to hold the stability and hold the backbone of whatever house, regardless if he's in a relationship, married with kids or not. A man needs to have stability at all times.
Well, now we live in a society where everyone does, everyone, men, women. But that aside, I think so many people are afraid to invest in their education. Have you invested in networking?
Of course, yes. I do a lot of sponsor events. So occasionally, we're in South Florida right now, Miami, Fort Lauderdale in particularly. And I put a lot of money into sponsorships, booths, meetups, meet and greets and stuff like this. where we bring more capital for our partnerships, for our real estate investing. And I also have a real estate hedge fund. It's called octoventurecapital.com if you guys want to look it up. And basically what we do is we raise capital. I give opportunities for our investors to raise capital alongside with us in scaling their real estate portfolio as dividends or distributions that we offer our partners and our investors. And our real estate fund is targeted for folks that want to have a stream of passive income by investing in real estate, but not dealing with tenants, toilets, and termites. I call those the 3 T's. You know?
I love that.
Yeah. And the majority of all of our investors, they're fascinated. They're very happy with the investments that we're doing right now.
How many investors do you currently handle?
Well, right now we have a very small fund. We started our fund about 3.5 years ago. Right now we have 28 investors right now. We have 28 in total. 28.
Good number.
It's not bad. It's not bad. And our target is for our asset class is multifamily north of 30 apartments, Class B or Class C. So basically that just means that Class B means that it's like the building is maybe 10, maybe 15 years old. It's kind of fresh, it's kind of new, but it doesn't have all the amenities like the gyms, the saunas and stuff like that. That's like a Class A plus or minus. Class B is like 10 to 15 years old. Class C is like 10 to 15 years old, maybe 20 years old is Class C. That needs fresh paint, fresh kitchen, fresh updates and stuff like this. And the reason why we target Class B and Class C multifamily asset class is because the exit, when we go to exit these trades, if it's not a cash out refinance or if it's not a sale of the property, of the asset class ourselves, just by a small $200 or $300 rent bump, we can push the evaluation north of $1 million of appreciation literally within 1 year. And that's basically printing money in thin air just by raising rents, which is the craziest part about real estate. But pulling these $1 million out of these buildings is extremely, extremely critical. And that's strictly with doing $200 to $300 rent bumps. That's it. Very simple.
So let's say you go to a networking event and someone says, hey, I want to be an investor in your fund. Is there a minimum amount for the investor to
50K.
place? 50K?
50,000 is the minimum, yeah, 50,000.
And what type of annual return are they seeing, and what does that look like?
So typically the investment of 50K or whichever is invested, 100K, $1 million, $5 million, whatever the case may be is, we do a distribution roughly around between 6 to 8% as a distribution, okay? That number of percentage is pulled off of what we call cash on cash return or COC. The cash on cash return is basically the net operating income, okay? Divide that by our down payment plus our CapEx, which is tenant improvements or the actual repairs of the project. So that's the definition, if you want to recall, for cash on cash return. Our target is north of 9% for cash on cash. So just say that after the amount of money invested, we would get, let's just say hypothetically, a 9% return or higher. From that 9% return, the hedge fund or the VC that we are, Octo Venture Capital, we want to hold about 2 to 3% above whatever our cash on cash return is. So if we're kicking out if we're obtaining plus or minus a 9% annual return on our cash on cash or COC, we want to do a distribution of 6 to 7% to our investors. We don't want to pick up 9% annualized cash on cash and kick out 9% because we'll bleed the account. We'll bleed it. If that makes any sense? We always want to have a cushion in position, just in case if a water heater breaks, if a roof leaks or whatnot. So 6 to 8% is a distribution that our investors get organically. We do K1 distribution, which is bonuses in the fourth quarter, which we call Q4 K1 distributions. And then when we do our cash out refinances, what we like to do is we like to give our investors back all of their money plus keep them in the deal.
Oh, wow. That's interesting. How long does that normally take?
It depends how many units we're going after. If we're going after 30 apartments plus or minus, we're remodeling around 3,000 to 4,000 square foot of rentable space per month.
Okay.
And an average 2-bedroom, 1-bathroom is roughly around 600 to 700 square feet. So we can just, like I said earlier in the conversation, I'm a multiply and divide kind of guy. So if we're doing, let's just say hypothetically, 2,000 square foot of rentable space per month on renovation. Let's just say hypothetically 2,000 square feet. We divide that by 700 square feet. That's 3 units per month, plus or minus, of renovation. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So do you think that for someone to be an investor, they have to have experience in real estate?
No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. There's three ways to get into three ways that we offer to get into real estate. One, you could buy this. You could buy the low ticket course, which is the 497, which just tells you the logistics, demographics, and how to get into markets. You could do the mastermind, where you can properly know exactly. And first of all, the mastermind course, a $7,000 package. Our $7,000 package for OPM today's real estate investing made simple. Not only includes everything in the low ticket, it includes $30 million worth of transactional funding to get in and out of transactions. It has $40 million worth of private equity in our private equity fund, where our students can tap into at any time. It has all the blueprints, the logistics, the demographics of real estate investing, market cycles, everything A to Z, plus Zoom meetings once a week with our team.
And how long does that masterminding go on for at the
It's
higher
it's a
level?
lifetime package.
Lifetime package. So someone could be in a mastermind every week?
They can come in, they can go out, and like 5 years later, they can come back in if they want.
What percentage of your course was influenced by the Grant Cardone platform?
Well, Grant Cardone specializes in multifamily, typically Class A buildings. Grant Cardone specializes usually in Class A buildings. Class A buildings are 5 years or younger, or really newer buildings, if that makes sense.
Okay.
And Grant Cardone and I, we're different in the sense that he targets Class A buildings that are already in primary markets that are appreciating exponentially. So Grant works on the appreciation play. I work on the actual cash flow play and the offloading, rinsing, and repeating, tax-free play. If that makes sense, yeah.
Do you think that anyone could learn how to buy real estate with no money down?
Yeah. We offer courses also on buying real estate with zero money down. And a lot of the content that I give also for free. If you guys want to check out my content, it's on Instagram. It's Octo OCTO _investor. That's on my Instagram, And I give out a ton of free information on getting free houses, a ton.
What was the first zero money down deal you did?
Well, for zero money, every deal you need a little something. You need money. You need money to come down.
Okay.
Yeah. But as for the zero money down out of my pocket, it's deals that have a substantial amount of equity in the deal, if that makes any sense, and a deal that you can guarantee. I'm saying guarantee your investors a high return of interest or equity on an exit when you go to trade out or refinance out. So I'll give you an example. Let's say a house is valued at let's say $500,000. Let's just say a house is worth $500,000, right? And the person is struggling. They have a balance with the bank, or principal balance of, let's say, hypothetically, let's just say $50K. Okay, they owe the bank $50K as a principal balance, and they're about $30,000 in the arrears. They're behind on their mortgage, $30,000. So $50,000 is what they owe the bank. $30,000 is what's in the arrears. And some of these folks, they have sentimental value on these properties. Their kids were born in the house. They were married in the house. They don't want to lose it. So they wait till the last 1 or 2 months before the sheriff. They knock on the door and they take the house from them for some reason, and they have a big chunk of equity. We just said that the house was worth like $500K, right?
Right.
So some of these deals, not all the time, but some of these deals, I call these needle in the haystack. But you have to. It's more of a numbers game in the real estate sector. We call these folks on the public records. It's public records when somebody falls behind. I believe it's called a list pendant. I believe it's called a list pendant, right? You can get these on propstream.com. You can go to courthouse records, and you can see these people or folks that are struggling 30, 40, 50, 60, 100,000 behind on their mortgage, and you can simply do what I call redemption. It's called redemption. Redemption is when the person that's falling behind on their mortgage pays back the principal balance that's owed to the bank.
Right.
But most of the time, those folks don't have the cash.
Right.
They lost their job. Maybe these folks, they needed 2 streams of income, husband and wife. They had to pay the mortgage, and maybe somebody died, the husband died, the wife died, whatever the case may be and they can't come up with the mortgage payments for the X amount of time. So going back to that formula, they owe $50,000 for the principal, right? And they're behind $30K. That's where we come in. Our students come in based on the education. If you guys find these deals, they can contact us direct. That $30,000, if you guys don't have it, we will give it to you. That $30,000, we will give it to you, okay?
Right.
And the way this works is that what we would do is we would give $30,000 to an escrow company or an attorney. They would hold it in escrow, okay? They would then deed the house to us for a $100 quitclaim deed. Before the $100 quitclaim deed we would have to pay the bank back for the redemption.
Right.
Okay, so our escrow company gives the $30,000 to the bank, okay? Now the house is through the redemption period.
Right.
They're up to par, okay?
Right.
But before our attorney gives the $30,000 to the bank, the seller of the house, they got to be a seller. They had to deed the house to us on a $100 quick claim deed. So now we have a house for $30,000, right? That's worth $500,000, right? So you see the amount of equity that's in that deal already. You see?
Of course.
We're still owed the principal balance. We're still owed the principal balance to the bank, which is the original $50K. But those type of deals, they happen all the time. And then with that much equity in the deal, you can easily raise capital overnight. You have $300,000-400,000 in equity.
What would be the next step for the homeowner? Would you lease it to them? And
Exactly.
Allow them
There you go. Yeah.
Okay.
So the two ways in that one would be keys for dollars. Keys for dollars is you give the owner $20,000, $50,000, whatever the case may be. It's just to leave.
Okay.
Or you do a tenant lease back. So the owners, they go from owners to tenants. They do a tenant lease back. So owners to tenants. If that doesn't work, then but every problem has a solution. At the end of the day,
Making it a win-win, so that everybody gets the benefit. If they are emotionally attached to the property, then they potentially would find that very attractive.
Yeah.
As opposed to having to go.
Not having to leave the house.
Not having to leave the house.
Yeah.
So foreclosures are one area of opportunity.
Pre-foreclosures.
I used to actually work with a loan servicer, so I've had many years of experience in the foreclosure world. Do you think that a background in loan servicing or foreclosures would help a person
Definitely.
that wanted to be in this space?
Yeah, definitely. If you're looking to get into the mortgage sector or the loan sector, by far, well, actually, I don't. That could be a gray line because typically those guys are giving the loans.
Right.
They're not going after the delinquent loans. So I wouldn't think that's the area per se.
Well, the loan servicers hire the law firms to file the foreclosures. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, just being familiar with the phases and the structure of a foreclosure action. But what are there any other examples of where one of your students would have access? Because from what I can tell, being quite active in the community with networking, it's such a wide range of people. There are some people that don't want to network. There are some people that do. What are the qualities that a successful real estate investor really has to have to succeed?
Well, one of the biggest qualities that a real estate investor needs to succeed is to properly underwrite a deal. Underwriting is one of the, if not the most critical area in real estate investing, is properly underwriting. Typically, when I underwrite a deal, I have three individuals underwrite deals, the same deal. I put my underwriting together. The next guy puts his underwriting together, and then I like a third person to underwrite. Okay, but we don't show each other numbers until the end. Okay, we look for fine loopholes in the system where we can capitalize and monopolize together as a team, as a group. It could be on value add. It could be covered parking. It could be gumball machine, soda machine. It could be tenant late fees. It could be pet fees. Every single item that we can squeeze from this asset, it goes into the underwriting scoreboard where we can increase the net operating income. In real estate, we call it NOI. And that will determine the evaluation of the property itself. At the end, once we're going in through our due diligence period, our inspection period, the due diligence period, then we put all the numbers together as a group and say, okay, our NOI is this, our cash on cash is this, our cap rate is this. We're getting 6% debt, we're getting 7% debt. We put everything together and we see what it looks like as an entrance position and what it would look like on an exit position. We never go into a real estate transaction not knowing what the exit's going to look like. You always have to know what your exit transition is going to be like. You never want to go into a deal and not know what your exit is going to look like.
That's a great law of real estate. Always know your exit.
Always know your exit. You need to know your exit. But organically, real estate's known for appreciating. In the Midwest, which is like Ohio, Illinois, Missouri, those are like Midwest states. Organic appreciation is anywhere between 3 to 5% annualized, and the rents are a lot more money. It's a lower cost of entrance, and the cash flow is higher in the Midwest. In the southern regions, like South Florida, if you want to push out to New York, you want to push out to New Jersey, California, the cash on cash returns or the net cash flow per se is a lot less because you're in primary markets and the valuation of the properties are a lot higher when you're entering these positions. But yeah, underwriting is exponential. If you need to know exactly how you underwrite the deals, because if you don't know what your exit's going to look like, it's very difficult. You know,
What's your average exit?
2.5 to 3x multipliers.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. Our exit is a minimum 2 to 3x multiplier. Once we hit the 2x multiplier, then we're already thinking about how we're going to cash out, if we're going to sell. And by the way, when you do a cash out refinance, it's 100% debt free. You never pay taxes on borrowed money. So you could buy a property for $1 million. It appreciates for 1.5 million, 500,000 appreciates. You can pull easily 30% of the 70% LTVs, which is called loan to value. I'll give you an example. You buy a property for $1 million, okay, and it's worth $1.5 million in 2 years. You just built $500,000 worth of equity, okay? In commercial, you can pull 70% of that out. In residential, you can pull 20% of that out, the 500,000.
Okay.
Whatever the number is, I don't have a calculator on me right now.
Sure.
But the money that you pull out, you can hold the property, you can keep it for long-term wealth, generational wealth, where it continues to collect passive income, you know? And the money that you pull out on the cash out refinance is 100% tax-free, and you just snowball that into more doors. That's how you can go from doors 1 to 2 to 4 to 8 to 16 and to 32 at an exponential rate.
By using that non-tax depreciation.
Non-tax depreciation cash out refinances.
Did you have to study a lot about taxes and how they apply to real estate in order to master your craft of real estate investing?
Well, real estate, the one thing you need to know about real estate is that real estate has a depreciation clause from the time you purchase the real estate, not the time that it was built. Real estate depreciates by 27.5 years of depreciation. In the commercial sector, there's 39 years of depreciation, but that's another topic. Those are your triple nets, your percentage leases, but that's commercial level. But for this, we're just talking about residential. Residential has a depreciation clause of 27.5 years. Like I said, from the time that you purchased the property, not the time that it was built. So an example of that, and this is one of the most important things you need to know in real estate is depreciation. And depreciation is by far one of the biggest key components of real estate wealth in the world. But with the 27.5 years, you can crunch that 27.5. You can crunch that. And what I do is I crunch that number years 2 through 5. So it's called cost segregation, accelerate the depreciation. So that 27.5 years, my accountant and I, my CPA, we usually crunch that number years 2 through 5. And I give you an example. The power of real estate. Once again, let's say you buy a property for $1 million, okay? And you can write off, let's say, 30% the first year. 30% on $1 million is how much? $300,000, right? You put the $1 million property onto Airbnb. The Airbnb generates, let's say, $200,000, right? If you are collecting $200,000 from your Airbnb for the year, I'm just throwing numbers. It could be $100,000, $150,000. Let's just say you're going to collect $200,000 for the Airbnb.
Right.
But you can write off up to 30% of the purchase price of $1 million, which is $300K. Where does that $200,000 go? You show Uncle Sam, yes, I made $200,000, but you can write off up to $300,000. Where does that $200,000 go? If you can write off the $200,000 in your pocket, tax-free.
That's wonderful.
That money goes right into your pocket, tax-free. Why? Because you accelerate the depreciation. So what I do is years 2 through 5, I put all the cash flow into my pockets and my investors' pockets. Anybody that invests into our fund goes right out as distributions, tax-free, years 2 through 5, and then we never hold properties more than 5 years.
Sounds like you have a very good model. How many years did it take you to master?
17 years.
17 years you've been doing this?
17 years. It's a long time.
And your best mentor was?
I had a bunch of mentors.
No favorites?
No favorites in particular, yeah. I had a bunch of mentors.
What would you say, obviously in any business, there's ups and there's downs. What was your scariest moment in real estate investing? And what did you learn from it?
It wasn't really a big scary moment. It was maybe like between a $50,000 to $80,000 hit or loss. In real estate, those numbers are small numbers. Those are small numbers. You know, you're talking millions and millions of dollars in the real estate sector. You're going to lose 50, 60K, 100K. I was remodeling a fourplex. I had 2 investors on a fourplex deal, and this is real. This is real right now. I was remodeling a fourplex. I also have a real estate fund for fix and flips, right? So I raised capital. 2 of my investors, they put some money into the deal, and this was exactly when Joel Powell, the guy that controls our interest rates in the U.S., Joel Powell for the real estate sector, He raised it from, I believe it was like 5% interest to 7%. So in about a month or two, the cost of money, which was 2 months ago 5%, 2 months later it's 7% to borrow money. So because he raised the interest rates 2%, it's completely like slowed the market down. Oof, the market froze for two. I don't know if you guys remember. I forgot when that was. But the whole market froze like an ice, like a popsicle. Nobody was buying, nobody was selling. And I had a fourplex unit that I was remodeling. I bought it for like, I think I bought that fourplex for like 580,000, and it sold for 800,000. I was negative on that deal, $35,000. I was negative, plus I had a couple open permits that were open, and the owner or the buyer of the property was buying the property, that I was under contract. He said to me like this, Joe, I need you to leave 50K in escrow. I'll give you 30 days to close out the permits. And this was right smack in Thanksgiving weekend in November. You know, Thanksgiving, you have the 4-day holiday, and you have and Saturdays and Sundays don't count in the billing department because nobody works on the weekends. So I was almost losing 50K on top of the $35,000 that I lost in the deal. So I ended up pulling through. I got all my permits closed out on this fourplex remodel. I ended up getting my 50K back out of escrow on the exit, but I did take a $35,000 loss. But the two investors, well, I put my money in too, but the two investors that I had in the deal on top of my money, I gave them back all their money 100%. I gave them back 100% of their money, and they were a little bit upset with me. They're like, Joe, you tied up our money for 5-6 months, and we made no returns. I said, but did you lose money? They lost time, but
well, I have to, I mean, I think to mitigate and return 100% seems like an honorable action that you took.
My goal is to never let my partners or investors lose money. Never, ever, ever. Anybody that's ever lost in the real estate sector, it was me. And I've taken 3 or 4 losses in the real estate sector, but they're small losses. I think one was like 10,000, one was like 35,000. These are pennies in the bucket. Like I said, real estate's $1 $1 trillion industry.
Are you at the level of success today that you had wished for 17 years ago? Well,
I'm a lot higher than I am from when I was 15, 16, 17 years ago, because of fear. That's the real reason. The fear of losing, the fear of not having money to buy what you want to buy when you want to buy it, the fear of looking at something and be like, well, I can't afford that today. I need to work, tomorrow, and the fear. And a lot of times, Will Smith said this also. Will Smith, the actor, he said that his drive in being successful as an actor was a fear, the fear of being on stage, the fear of missing out. And a lot of folks that are winning in these higher levels, they're winning because of fear. When they got to go on stage and speak on stage, or if they have bills that are due and they don't have the funds available, it's the fear of losing out, the fear of not having the money, or it could be the fear of having a family and not having money to put food on the table, whatever the case may be is. Everybody goes through problems, everybody goes through hardship, trial and error, but at the end of the day, every single problem in this world has a solution.
Do you still have fear today, or have
consistently?
You still have fear.
I still have fear every day.
So you feel that fear helps drive you?
Even making millions of dollars, there's still a fear behind it. There's always fear. Yeah.
Interesting.
The success is pushed by fear. Now that could be a negative component, that could be a positive component, however you want to slice it or dice it. But at the end of the day, feeling like you're not able to make it, regardless if you're making millions or billions or whatever the case may be, is that fear. It's a push, and I still go through it every single day. Every day I wake up in the morning, and I take a cold shower, and I push my way through life to better myself in every possible component or aspect out there.
What are your practices in a typical day for you like? What do you do? Do you work out? Do you meditate? Things that besides that you do to stay focused in the day.
For me to stay focused, it's mostly drive and determination. I work out a little bit. I'm trying to work out more than normally at the moment. I'm trying to get my physique back, just a grind every single day. It's a consistent push. And where's the end game? I don't know where the end game is. The end game is just advancing yourself as much as you possibly can, as quickly as you can at the end of the day.
What is your number one purpose?
My number one purpose is to eventually just well, I've already made it already. You know, I've already accomplished what I wanted to accomplish in my life. The thing is that you can always go further at all times. And at the end of the day, I say to myself, what's the point of staying home and watching TV and watching Netflix all day, or staying at home? You want to be that person that's always moving, regardless if you're making $1 today, if you're making $1,000 today, if you're making $1 million today, whatever the case may be is. As long as you're pushing forward in life, that's the successful part of where I see myself going.
What gives you the most joy in your life today?
Family always comes first. Family and God. Family and God comes first.
And
Always.
your parents are still with us?
Well, my father passed away, actually.
I'm so sorry.
Yeah, my father passed away because of cancer. Cancer took him, stopped the kidneys, stopped the bladder, and but he made it to 80. He made it to 80. God bless. God bless. My mom's still alive. Very strong woman, very beautiful woman, very strong. And I live close to them. I live about 5 minutes from my mom.
That is so nice. And what's your mom's name?
Carmen, Miss Carmen. Yeah.
Well, it sounds like your parents gave you a lot of love growing up.
Oh yeah, they've done above and beyond what any parent could that I can see. My mom and dad, they always lived below their means. Always. My dad made X amount of cash, whatever the amount of money he made in life. But he always pushed the money into the kids. He always gave me the best school, the best food, the best this. I have an older sister, I have a younger brother. My parents always gave us everything that we needed: Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts, soccer, playing, going to Europe twice. Just an enormous amount of support from the family. And a lot of families, a lot of mother and fathers, they don't do that for their kids. You know, they have kids, they forget about them, they throw them to the side, this and that, you know, and they let the kids fight for themselves, you know. But my parents, they were always there for me. They always were the backbone, you know.
That's so important.
Yeah.
What's the number one law of life your mom has taught you?
My mom, she's always been a sweetheart. You know, she always says she calls it Mama's kitchen in the house. She says, son, you know, if you ever want to come home, you'll always have a hot dish here at the house. You always have something to eat. You always have a roof. You know, thank God. You know, I don't need it. I'm older now, but you know, my mom and dad, they're always there for me. If anything would ever happen, you know, they will always be there. And that's a blessing. Like I said, you know, a lot of mom and dads, they have the kids and they leave, they do something else, they forget about them, they let them fight for themselves. But God bless them, my parents, you know. God bless them, yeah.
I love that. Mama's kitchen.
Mama's kitchen, yeah.
That's so beautiful.
Yeah. And my mom's an amazing cook, by the way. My mom's she spends hours and hours looking at Food Network. You know the Food Networks?
Of
All
course.
the foods.
I may have to come over and try.
You should try.
Carmen's cooking. And what about your dad? What's the number one law of life? I know he had a lot that you've mentioned, but what was the number one law he drove home every day?
My dad was a hustler. There was very few times I've seen my father relaxing. My dad was always work. But then again, you know, my parents, and you know, they came from different countries. You know, the whole immigrant story. My mom came from Colombia. My mom's Colombian.
Okay.
Yeah, my dad's Italian, from Naples, Italy. But they had the story of the American dream. They wanted to come to America in the 40s and the 50s. You know, yeah, they come to America and they wanted the opportunity. You know, and they made it. They made it. 100% they made it. You know, going back to my parents' story, because they lived, you know, 10 times below their means, 100 times below their means. They put their kids in a position to have the best life possible. And I got into the real estate sector, seeing that my mom and dad, they own 15 properties or 15 apartments paid off. And this was like 30 years ago.
Wow.
30 years ago, 15 properties they were paid off. My mother and father probably bought like 35 properties, 40 properties in a lifetime, but they held 15 properties that are completely paid off. So they're living right now on 15, 20K a month passively without working. Now, when I saw that number, $15,000, $20,000 a month passively without working, that opened up my brain. Combined with construction and the construction education that I had, getting my master's license in plumbing, AC, and solar energy, and merging over into the real estate sector, I said to myself, if my mother and father, they can come to America, have 15 properties that are completely paid off. I was born in America. I got a college education. I have 3 state licenses for plumbing. I'm a hustler, I'm a go-getter. How can two people that are immigrants come to this country, have 15 properties that are paid off, and I don't even get close to this number? This is impossible. This is unheard of. You know, they say that 2 to 3 generations incline. Okay, my parents have 15 properties. Right now, I own 112 units. I'm a general partnership on 564 units right now, GP, which is
Wow.
a big accomplishment for myself.
Huge.
So I basically almost 10x. I did 10x what my parents did.
That's incredible. Congratulations on that, because
Yeah.
that's tremendous. And have they said to you, Joe, you did good?
Yeah, my parents are really happy for me. But that right there was the icing on the cake when I saw my parents not having to work anymore. My parents actually retired themselves. I didn't retire my parents, but I had the education from my parents to go into the next level. You know, seeing my parents that are living on a $15,000, $20,000 a month without working, a lot of folks don't even make $10,000, $15,000 a month, let alone two immigrants from a different country that did what they had to do to survive, to get properties or real estate and have a substantial amount of cash flow to not live, you know, have like Ferrari, Lamborghini, go vacations all the time, wear name brand clothes, but to have a substantial amount of cash flow where they can relax.
Absolutely.
You know?
I think that they set a very beautiful example for you in many ways.
Yeah.
Relationships, you know, investing, being successful in life, and living within your means, not
Yeah.
having to live extravagantly,
Yeah.
but living comfortably with peace of mind. So, what about romance? Any romance in your life?
Oh no, I'm single, not married, no kids.
Okay, so all the ladies out there now know this
Yeah. Yeah.
important information.
Yeah, yeah. No, I'm not married. I've never been married before. No kids. But I'm still looking for the one. You know, it's the problem with the dating scene is that it's a little difficult, especially in I call them primary markets because we're talking real estate. Primary markets, New York, LA, Chicago, Miami. It's very difficult. A lot of the girls these days, they think it's greener on the other side, if that makes any sense. But it's never greener on the other side. There's always problems. There's always situations, money issues, romance issues, whatever the case may be is. And then you always have these guys with tons of money that are just throwing it on the women. They're just throwing it on women. So the women think that their value is based on appearance and looks. So when women they walk down the street, they have guys, hey, how are you? Let me get your phone number. They give the car, they give the house, they pay the rent. They got 10, 15, 20 guys. So when it comes time to actually date, the dating scene, or forget about marriage, how are you going to marry somebody if you can't even date somebody because you have multiple guys throwing multiple dollars on you at the end of the day? And if guys are throwing hundreds, if not thousands of dollars on a woman, you don't think that they're doing that to 3 or 4 other women?
That's true. That's
You know?
highly possible.
Yeah.
So, what is your ideal girlfriend to start off with dating look like?
Look
Does
like?
what does she have a profession?
She's gotta have
Does
a
she-
profession. She's gotta have a profession. She's gotta have her own stability. You know, there's many women that they look for a man to pay everything, to hold the fort down, pay this, pay that, pay this. I've always been the guy that paid everything. Like I've always paid everything for the house, the car, the clothes, the insurance, the food. Like I'm the kind of guy that pays everything. But at the same time, I don't like to see the woman that I'm with sitting down in a chair for hours, not doing anything, not getting school, not going to school, not learning something, art, a craft, a skill, just sitting down like just sitting. You know, I'm a hustler and I want to be with a hustler woman at the same time also.
I love that. That's a
Yeah.
great phrase. You want and I happen to agree.
Yeah.
I think it's important to. Someone said, I think it was Alex Hormozy said, you want to marry someone that you want to look up to, that
Exactly,
you want to
yeah.
grow with. What's the number one quality in a woman you find the most attractive?
The honest truth to that, the brain. The brain. A woman with a good brain is one of the sexiest items. A brain, yeah. Because everything from the outside is visual, but a way a woman talks and excels is the most attractive. You know.
I love that.
Yeah.
Now let's say, and obviously we're all cheering you on.
Yeah.
You find your perfect woman,
Uh-huh.
and you have a couple kids.
Mm-hmm.
Do you still want your kids to go to college, knowing what we know now?
The only area in college that I think is substantial or actually worth going to college is for the medical professionals, medical, finance, maybe tech. Every other college is, it's math, history, those journalism, maybe if that's what you like,
Yeah.
But I've had 3 or 4 friends that were dropouts that have multi 7-figure businesses. I have a friend of mine. He opened up 5 sunglass stores. This guy's multi-millionaire, sunglasses.
Wow.
I have a few of my friends that they open up plumbing companies, $4 million a year in sales companies at a 35-40% profit margin. I have a lot of friends that are successful that don't even have high school diplomas. I have my high school diploma. I graduated high school. I graduated college with a degree in construction technology for college. But even my degree, I went to FAU for construction technology. Even my degree, I spent on that degree, I don't even know, 60, 70K, 80K, something like this for my degree, whatever the case may be is. It's just a piece of paper on the wall. My theory for my college education was that I was going to go work for a big construction company. And I've never had the rush of working for somebody. When I was in my 20s, when I fresh out of high school, I went to the military. I was Air Force.
Oh, wow.
I was Air Force, and I didn't like the system because there was always a chain of command. There was always one guy with one stripe above you. You got the one stripe, you got 2 stripe, you got 3 stripe. There's always one guy in front of you, and there's always somebody calling the shot in front of you. And it was just, I didn't like that vibe. I didn't like the energy that there was always a boss in front of you. For me, it didn't work out. I had an opportunity to leave the military with an entry-level separation. It wasn't honorable or dishonorable, it was entry.
Okay.
Because what happened was I went to study civil engineering. When you go to the military branches, they promise you the bells and whistles, the recruiters.
Of course.
Where do you want to be? What do you want to do? I said, well, I wanted to play soccer. I was a soccer player back then. Where do you want to do? I want to play soccer in Italy. Oh, we have a base in Italy. Oh, I want to play for the Neapolitan team. But you could play Air Force soccer with the Air Force. They promise you, and then they give you the job based on the ASVAB or the military score. Okay, you qualify for engineering. Okay, civil engineering, great. After my basic training, they made me an MP, a police officer. Okay. They made me a cop after basic, and my officer says, here's a 9mm gun. Here's a car. You need to go to the dormitories and you need to bust male and female for having fun.
Oh.
You get it? Because after the basic training, you're 9 months without seeing woman, without seeing man. After the basic training, they put men and women into one dormitory.
Oh my goodness.
And what do you think is going to happen? 3 months without action.
It's going to happen.
And they got full of testosterone, these guys, 19 years old, 18 years old. What are you going to do, So my job was to go into the bus. I said, forget about this. I'm not the guy to bust nobody. I don't bust nobody. I don't know nothing. I don't see nothing.
Doesn't sound like a very good use of your intelligence.
Yeah, I went to study engineering, and so the officer says to me, well, we have you here for 3 years. You have to be police for 3 years, and then you can opt out. You can change profession. I said, forget about this. I'm not. So they let me go out of the Air Force, and then from there I used the money to go right into college.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
Where did you go to college?
FAU.
Okay.
I started at BCC, Broward College, Broward Community College. I started there. I did some of my semesters there, and I went to FAU after that.
So let's say you're in front of a room of 1,000 21-year-olds that did not go to college. Mm-hmm. What are you going to tell them? What's the fastest way for them to get the money, to start being able to buy their food and pay their rent? Basic. Yeah.
So first of all, if you got a room with you said 1,000 21-year-olds, each one is going to have a different idea on where they're going to want to go in life. If that makes any sense? Everybody has their own path. If that makes any sense. But what I would do is I would tell just like this. The blueprint works like this. You need to have a 9 to 5. Okay, whatever the case may be, is you need to have a 9 to 5. Monday through Friday, you need to work a job, regardless if it stinks, if it's awesome, if whatever. You need stability. As a man, you need to have stability. Monday through Friday, 9 to 5, work for somebody. Okay. $15 an hour, $20 an hour, $30 an hour, whatever the thing is. Mm-hmm. After 5 p.m., learn a skill, pick up a trade, go to YouTube, figure out arts and craft, gun shooting, plumbing, electrical, whatever you want to do to accelerate yourself. That from 5 to 10. On the weekends, Go to school, go to courses, online training, pick up a profession on the weekends, and then little by little build your craft. Yes, you're gonna have to try 3 or 4 or 5 different things, and yes, you're gonna fail hundreds of times. You're gonna fail, but that's the part of pain and suffering. You're never gonna break out without a breakthrough. Okay, I got a saying: for every breakdown is followed by a breakthrough. You have to break out. You have to break out. You have to get crushed. You have to lose. In my entire life, because we're talking openly right now. In my entire life, I've lost close to about $1.2 million, $1.3 million in my life by trial and error, not having my I's and my T's crossed in contracts, working with business partners that didn't know how to run businesses. So I've had my fair share of losses.
Have you? So you've spent a lot of time, and thank you for your candor in that, because I think it's important. Everybody has to lose
Oh yeah.
in order to win, and I think that's a great law of life. You've been in the service-oriented business of painting, plumbing, contracting. You're in the real estate business. Have you ever owned any type of retail business, laundromats, or otherwise like brick and mortar businesses, so to speak?
I don't like brick and mortar businesses because everything's moving onto online. Amazon's business, Jeff Bezos, he's crushing everything. You see shopping centers being completely wiped out. Everything's online. Amazon right now, they're crushing it. God bless, Jeff for coming up with the idea, or whoever came up with the idea for Amazon. But they used to have 2-day delivery. Now they have same-day delivery. Never in my wildest dreams I would ever thought you can order something online and have it to your house by 5 p.m. the next day, or the same day.
The
same day. Like I've never thought of. That's like the craziest thing, And Amazon is putting these fulfillment centers like almost in every city. So literally, eventually, everyone's going to be able to get their packages or whatever they order the same exact day. You don't even have to go to the shopping center no more. Okay, I need a toothpaste. I need a brush. Boom, 5 p.m. It's in your house.
So you're a big online shopper?
Everything's online.
Clothing too? You buy all your stuff online?
It depends. It depends. Clothing. It really depends what the fashion is or what the. I've been buying a lot of European stuff lately. So the crossover from American to European is. I'm still getting familiar with the numbers and the sizes. For shoes and shirts and stuff. But that's pretty much,
How has AI impacted your?
I use AI on everything.
Okay.
Yeah, AI is one of my best. ChatGPT 5.0. There you go. It's that's my best employee. He costs me $200 a month, and he can answer any question that I want.
Really? So how do you apply your AI to your real estate investing? Does it help you screen a deal for?
No, I haven't. No, all my deals are in-house. I screen all my deals. Yeah, I look at between 40 to 50 deals per week, plus or minus, and like 90% of them I throw them in the trash because, at the end of the day, the sellers, they always want more above and beyond what the property's really worth. But with the AI, speaking of AI, I utilize AI, but not for the underwriting sector. I really like to physically get on paper and pen and run the numbers all myself physically.
So what do you use it for, AI?
Things that I want to learn, things that I want to learn. AI knows a lot of things. And the cool thing about AI right now, the ChatGPT 5.0, is I take a picture of something and I tell them, okay, give me the best scenario for this, or what are the ingredients in this, or what are the key components in this, or how can I scale this? And then ChatGPT breaks down within seconds. It's very fast, and I'm very fast, so we both work together.
Have you used AI for marketing strategy?
Not yet. Not marketing strategy. Not yet. No.
What do you currently do to find investors, sellers, unique situations?
The majority of my capital raising is on social media. Like when I'm on social media, when I'm doing remodeling, like fix and flips, or I'm doing a walkthrough, I do the story. The stories.
Sure.
I click the story. Hey guys, what's going on? I'm over here fixing and flipping this house over here. We just picked this up for $300,000. We're gonna put about $100,000 into it. We're gonna be all in for about $400. Let's say $450 with closing costs. Our exit here, and I show them the ARV, the after repair value. Our exit is $650, $700. We got $200,000 worth of equity in this deal. We're gonna cash out in like 3 months. If you want more information, inbox me direct, fix and flip, and let's see if we can get you into the next deal.
I love that.
Yeah.
So has this social media been purely organic, or have you run any
all
paid
organic,
ads?
all organic. Yeah.
All organic. Now, do you have a team to help you with social media?
Yeah, I have a team, obviously. Yeah.
How did you find the right team for social media? Because there's so many choices, so many people out there willing to do it. How did you pick?
Well, the majority, like 90% of ad agencies out there, they're out there to rob you. You know, they don't, excuse my French on this, but a lot of folks, they don't care if you win or if you lose. They're just after your money. You know, so you can give ad agencies, you know, $4,000, $5,000, $6,000, $10,000, and boom, they burn through it, and you haven't closed one sale yet. You haven't made one sale yet. You know, so to find a professional team or ad agency or a team that works behind you and your content, you really gotta know who you're working with. And most of the people that I work with, it's face to face. Yeah, I usually do face to face. A lot of times when I've lost revenue in the past, when I've lost money in the past, it was companies I've never seen face to face. It was a cold call maybe. Hey, you know, I can help you with this. You know, give us money and we'll do this for you. You know, and this company out of Texas, they ran off with money. I had a company out of Canada, we ran off with money. You know, but it's my money. It's not my investor's money. It's all my money. Yeah. So,
Right.
but this is trial and error and stuff like this, and you get to learn like who's who and what's what, you know. But the majority of the people that we work with in-house are face-to-face. We go out, we have coffee, we have dinner, you know, we talk about life, we talk about, hey, how's the family? You know, it's like a very tight niche, you know, very tight. You know?
I think there is something to that face-to-face connection makes a relationship, makes people more accountable to one another.
Exactly,
I love
yeah.
that. So have you, what's your number one piece of advice to people that are at rock bottom right now and they just can't see the light?
Well, if you're rock bottom, there's only one way to go, right? I mean, if you're on the floor and you're broke and all your credit cards are maxed out and you have kids saying, you know, I got no food, daddy, I need some food. There's only one way to go. There's only one way to go. And I'm not saying do anything illegal. I'm not saying, you know, cheat nobody, rob nobody. You know, but there's only one way to go. And from my say, I would say the absolute first thing you need to do is get a mentor. Early in the conversation, we said that my jump was from when I was 33 years old and I got my first mentor. I hit my first $1 million positive in my pocket year by the time I was 35. So it took me 2 years after I got my mentor to hit a $1 million year. If I could turn back time, I would get mentors earlier in my life, in my early 20s, 21, 22, 23, 24, get mentors at that age. The problem is that we get blinded by social media. We get blinded by luxury and flashy things, the cars, the clothes, the lifestyles. It's just too much blinding stuff on the internet that the kids, they don't know which direction to go. Should I be a painter? Should I be an investor? Should I do landscaping business? But everyone's all over the place out there, and it's very hard for a younger man to key in because of all the gimmicks and all the flashy things that are all over the internet. It's very hard to zone in. But if anyone here is listening and understands the fundamentals of success and scaling with values, get yourself a mentor at a young age. 20, 22, 23, 24. Let's say it's 5K, 10K, 15K, whatever the case may be is. And some of you guys might be saying, oh, I'm 20 years old, I don't have $5,000. I don't have $10,000. Well, you're gonna have it, okay? And when you do have it, make the smart decision, make the right decision, put it towards a mentor that actually can accelerate you to the next level.
Now, does mentorship, I agree, is so important for business, constant self-education.
Yeah.
What about other areas of life, like health and fitness? Do you think that to be successful in any area of law, you need a coach?
You need balance. You need balance in life. Yeah. You need to work out. A lot of guys out there, they just go to work and they come home and they sleep. That's not a balanced life. You have to have some kind of exercise in your life. You have to exercise, a couple push-ups, go run a half a mile, quarter mile. You know, do some cardio. You gotta move the blood in your body. You know, you gotta keep the joints moving. You know, cardio, eating healthy, or try to eat healthy. I know good food costs a lot of money. You know, but they have these meal plans that you can pick up for like $7, $8, $10. You know, but like good meal plans. You know, steaks, meats, vegetables. Just pop them in the microwave. You know, if you're too much on the go and you got to move all the time, the Uber Eats is good. You know, you can eat decent with Uber Eats, but it gets pretty pricey. You know, but if you're a young guy, you're trying to come up fast. The best thing to do is just work a 9 to 5, like I said earlier. Work a 9 to 5, create your own stability, and then from 5 to 10, look on YouTube. You know, start to experiment with different things. Clipping, real estate investing, tech. Learn trade. Learn a job outside of your 9 to 5.
I love that. If you received $1 million as a present, you were not allowed to do anything in business or real estate, and you had to spend the $1 million in 24 hours on something
And not on real estate?
something you want for pure entertainment and fun, what would you spend the $1 million on?
$1 million? What I would spend it on? Well, I would spend it on a vehicle or transportation over 6,000 pounds, and I would use the IRS tax cheat code, the 179 tax credit. So basically, I would buy a boat that's $1 million. Okay, I would put up 10% down, which is $100,000. Okay, that $1 million will now stay in my pocket. 900,000 will be staying in my pocket tax free. Why? Because the 179 tax code is any vehicles or transportation over 6,000 pounds. You could write the whole thing off the first year.
Look at that. You even know how to convert $1 million present into
Yeah.
a profitable success
Yeah,
strategy.
$1 million gift, you would have to pay Uncle Sam or the IRS close to 40%. Actually, 30. I think it's 37% is the maximum. I believe it is. I could be wrong now. I'm not a tax advisor, but I believe 37% on $1 million. So basically, $370,000 would have to be given back to the IRS, or you can use a 179 tax credit. It's a cheat code for any vehicles or transportation over 6,000 pounds, and put 100% tax deduction back into your pocket, less the 10% that you would use to buy whatever you want to buy. So on $1 million, you would have to put up 100K, but the other 900,000 would stay in your checking account tax free. Then I would take the 900,000 and move it back into real estate.
Look at you. I love your creativity. So, what is the perfect present to buy Joe Dela Rosa?
Perfect present, just time with loved ones.
That's
You can't buy anything for me. I can't. You just, for me, I'm not. I like material things, but at the end of the day, it's about family.
That's amazing.
Family first. Yeah.
I've really enjoyed spending time with you. What is your number one law of life of all the laws you've discussed?
The number one law of my life is just doing exactly what you have to do in life. You know, just figuring out what truly means the most to you. And hopefully for the viewers that are listening out there, if you have family, keep them close, because we only got one family. You know, family's blood. You know, and if you have your mom still around, you still have your dad still around, spend time with them. You got kids, spend time with them, and make sure everybody in your circle is taken care of for the most part. So family first, the Lord, and family first, and just do the right thing. Don't cheat, don't lie, don't steal. Just be honest. And yeah, it might take a little bit longer to climb the ladder, but you do it in faith, and you do it in the right sequence.
I love that. Thank you so much,
Yeah.
Joe Dela Rosa, for being with us today.
Thank you. Yeah.
I hope everyone learned something. I know I did. Thanks for watching The Laws of Life.